We'd been out to Foy Regatta. We watched the fireworks in the square. The rest is quite hazy for me, but I can fill in the blanks in terms of what I've been told. We got the bus out of Foy because we'd had a few drinks watching the fireworks. The bus dropped us just after where Four Lanes is, coming out of Foy. And we got off the bus and walked along Grass Verge. I was walking slightly behind Lucy, and then we were both wiped up by what we now know was a young lady who was over the limit and was drink driving. Lucy fortunately was bounced to the side, had some superficial injuries, physical anyway. I, from what I understand from the police reports, flew somewhere between 12.5 and 15 metres through the air and ended up upside down in the hedge bottom. From the medical perspective, there are very, very few people that would have survived what I endured. There were multiple injuries, 4 fractures to my spine, 2 right up at the top in the C1 and C2, which would have been, had one wrong movement gone the wrong way, then that would have been very severe. 11 out of 12 ribs fractured, 3 of them flail, so 3 are titanium plated now. Significant damage to my head, bleed on the brain, recorded brain injury, was in a spinal brace for 6 months, was in ICU for 5.5 weeks, in a medically induced coma for a lot of that time. I was only even aware I was in hospital for less than a week before I was discharged. So yeah, I was in a bit of a mess, and nobody really knew if I came round and when I came round how I would be. And again, this is only information that I understand in the second person because I have no recollection of this. I previously had a relationship with Nash for some work that we'd done for my business, and knew one of the partners reasonably well, and I needed a referral that I could trust. I found the service from Nash to be absolutely as I expected. The communication was good, it was strong. There were times where my view differed from perhaps the overall view, and that's because it was me that was directly affected, and certainly I needed at times to be educated in terms of the area of law that we're working in, because although I have dealt with some personal injury stuff myself in the past with a previous employer, that very much was on the insurance side of things rather than in terms of dealing with an individual affected significantly by it. So I found the service was very, very good. The responses were very, very timely. I know that I asked a lot of questions. I know that at times I could be challenging, but at the same time, that's exactly what I needed. I needed to, if anything, outside of needing to go through the process for my own well-being, I needed to also exercise and understand some of the things which weren't visible for me before we started the process. So, for example, elements of the police files I wouldn't have seen and therefore wouldn't have understood if it wasn't for the work that I did with Nash. I think probably the biggest piece, I mean, certainly there were various expert opinions that were sought, which gave me a lot more understanding than I would have had. Certainly from my time with the hospital, I was discharged still in quite a confused state, and that isn't a criticism. I wanted to get out of hospital, but there were things that I didn't understand. And the various experts that I saw gave a lot of value to the understanding of what was going on with me. Absolutely. I think The beauty of Nash for me is that it's a very personable firm, and you're not dealing with layer after layer after layer of support structure before you can actually get to speak to somebody who's going to actually manage and handle your case. And that's been the same with everything that I've done with Nash, to be fair. And I think that's really valuable. I think it's really, really valuable. And I guess in this very simple way, it does what it says on the tin. I've never been told that what we were looking to achieve was any different than what we did achieve. I knew that it would be tricky, I knew it would be challenging, I knew it would be difficult. But I think the confidence of the experience in terms of once we get things past the insurer, once we get to the insurer's solicitors, we'll get a more sensible conversation, and that's exactly what happened.